Hey guys, in this video I'd like to talk to you about two things that a multitude of people experience, especially around the holidays: loneliness and depression. And these are really two sides of the same coin, indicating a desperate need and, yes, a void that can only be filled by God. But when it happens to you, how can you avoid the usual crutches and opt for healing? A few episodes ago, I spoke about the clinical depression that drove a friend of mine to commit suicide. Many just don't understand the mindset that a person must be in to entertain such an idea. But depression is very real. The feelings are real, the pain is real, and the burden feels too heavy to bear. Now, for those who don't understand, count yourselves fortunate. You have never felt so lonely before, so you thankfully don't get it. But the fact is, depression affects all different kinds of people: those who have, those who don't have, people with great jobs and ones that are unemployed, the rich and famous, as well as the poor and unknown, and so on. Now, it might interest you to know that several people in the Bible also went through depression: Moses, Elijah, David, Job, and Naomi were just a few who experienced the pain of depression for different reasons. So, how did they find comfort? Now, the scriptures do offer some encouragement for the lonely and depressed. For example, in Deuteronomy 31, verse 8, it says, "It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed." And also in Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10, it says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Now, there are many others as well, but let's also recognize the fact that encouraging words only do so much. Someone who is tangled within the tendrils of loneliness and depression needs more than just words. What do they need? Connections. Now, if you ask someone who has never had to deal with real depression, how can one avoid being lonely? Then you'd probably get a simplistic response like, surround yourself with people, friends. Oftentimes, however, the lonely and depressed person may not feel like being around other people. Still, there is a key truth found in that simple answer. It's what everyone needs, even the most introverted among us: relationships. Of course, while having friends to rely on and talk to is of vital importance, really the most important connection we can have is with God. A strong relationship with Him is more powerful than you can imagine. It's what can get us through the toughest of circumstances and the coldest of nights. Psalm 40, verses 1 through 3 say, "I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord." Now, the psalmist who wrote these words was no stranger to feeling alone. He could have just as easily fallen prey to the miry pit of depression, but he cried out to God, and God heard him. The psalmist put his trust in the Lord, and the Lord delivered him. Now, when my first wife left me, I was devastated. This was something that happens to other people, I thought, not to me. But no matter how hard I wanted to fight my situation, that marriage still ended in divorce. It was out of my control, and I was deeply depressed. If not for my faith in God and my relationship with Him, as well as a loving family who prayed for me, I don't think I could have made it through that. The first part of the scripture in Deuteronomy 33:27 says, "The eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms." Now, because of my connection with Jesus, I was able to take refuge in his arms. Right when I needed him the most, he was there for me. And isn't that what we all need? He is the friend, after all, who sticks closer than a brother. Still, it's not an easy thing to get from lonely and depressed to a place of belonging and peace when we try to do it all on our own. But giving our situation over to God isn't comfortable. I mean, we want to stay in charge. But the first big step toward healing in a situation that's out of our control is to admit to ourselves that it's out of our control. That stuff that's simply too big to handle, it's not too big for God. Psalm 3:3 says, "But you, O Lord, are a shield around me, my glory and the one who lifts my head high." See, without God, loneliness and depression appear to be giant monsters, too great to overcome. Even as Christians, we have to guard ourselves from allowing our circumstances to rule our lives and pull us down into the snare of depression. It can happen to any of us when we focus too much on the negative, the mountains, the obstacles in our lives, rather than on the grace and the mercies of Jesus. Philippians 4:8 says, "Finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good repute, if there is any excellence, and if anything worthy of praise, well, dwell on these things." In other words, think positive. See, negativity brings us down, but positivity can lift us up. As for those things that we can't control, well, we have to trust and believe that God will handle it for us. James 2:23 says, "And the scripture was fulfilled, which says, And Abraham believed God, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness, and he was called a friend of God." Now, the next time that you feel your world is closing in on you, like everything is falling down around you, stop. Remember these words and declare them. I am a friend of God, and know that he knows well how to care for his friends. In fact, you can't have a better friend. Tell loneliness and depression to take a hike, because you have powerful friends. And when you don't know what else to say, just say the name that is above every name, Jesus. Yeah, I know, it does sound simplistic, but it works. That stuff that's simply too big to handle, it's not too big for God. If there is any excellence, and if anything worthy of praise, well, dwell on these things. Hello? Hello? Hey!